In terms of workability, I don't think the idea of a common regulatory area...
So there's no incompatibility then between us leaving the customs union and the single market and the issues around a hard border?
Absolutely not. I think we can come up with mechanisms that work, and I think one of the other things we could do is come up with mechanisms like the use of special economic zones and free ports and so forth. If we were able to do that in Northern Ireland and other places, they generate economic activity. We could suggest to the European Union that if they were able to do a special economic zone that was somewhat contiguous on the border, in the border region, that would generate economic activity. It would help a little bit with
that. So far in the answers, we're hearing from you lots of coulds and shoulds. You've yourself said this is a negotiation. There are two parties. If the EU just decides to say no to all of the great ideas that Legatum and yourself have come up with, what is going to happen to Mr McSweeney and Mr Pomlett's businesses?
Yeah. But I think that's the purpose of a negotiation. The purpose of a negotiation is to put forth your ideas. That is how a negotiation works.
What happens? Presumably Legatum have looked forward. If the EU says no, what happens to Mr McSweeney and Mr Pomlett's businesses?
Yeah, so this is why I think it is so important that we are, in the negotiation with the European Union, we ensure that we are not negotiating with the EU in a room by ourselves with the EU, and we put all the other negotiations on hold until that has been accomplished. What I think is a much better way of using the implementation period is to actually initiate some of the other negotiations with other countries. And the Prime Minister has said we are going to be able to...
I'm sorry, okay, this evidence session is going to get more and more frustrating, okay? Because I think as politicians we can tell when people aren't answering questions. So forgive me for being very, very blunt. If the EU says no, not interested in any of Legatum's suggestions, we're just going to say no. You have, and this afternoon we've heard they've come out with it's Canada. Obviously it's a negotiation, but let's say they do that. What is going to happen to Mr McSweeney's and Mr Pomlett's businesses?
I think they can continue. I think
Mr
they can continue.
You tell me, what's going to happen to your business if the EU says no to all these bright ideas? It's this or nothing.
The borders will come to a grinding halt unless we come up with some internal radical suggestions and radical ideas.
And how is Legatum going to then justify this to the country, to our constituents?